Year 2. Now today we're going to create this pastel picture of a snowy, stormy night, okay? Now to do this we are going to use two pastel techniques that we've already talked about. One is shading and the other one is layering. So before we get started, we're going to just remind ourselves of those techniques. Okay, so the equipment you will need today is a piece of paper. Now I'm going to use a blue piece of paper. If you have a blue piece of paper, then you can use that. If you don't, then it's fine to use a piece of white paper. Okay, you will also need these colours of pastel. You will need a purple, you will need a light blue and a dark blue. You'll need a black pastel and a white one. And what I'd like you to do with the white pastel is to break it in half so you've got two pieces like that. Okay, now if you only have one blue pastel, that is fine too. You can just use white later on. I'll show you what to do. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Before we start our drawing, we're going to just practice those techniques that I talked about. So one of those is shading. Now shading, actually I don't think we've talked about shading before. Shading is when you take off the paper on your pastel and you use the side of the pastel and you turn it on the paper, and this fills the area really quickly, so it enables you to colour very quickly a large area. So it's turning the pastel on its side. Okay, that's one technique which I'd like you to have a go at. The other one is layering, and this we have talked about before. So layering is when we colour in one direction with one colour, and then we take another colour, or let me try a different one, purple over the top. We take another colour and we lay the colours on top of each other like that. Okay, right, so have a go at those two techniques, and now it's time for us to get started with our picture. Okay, so you take your paper, and the first thing I want you to do is to take 1/2 of your white pastel, and just to create a line where the snow is going to be. Now you don't want it to be too straight, you want it to be a little bit bumpy, okay? Make it a nice dark line because this line will be quite important as you continue, okay? Now the next thing you want to do is create the white part of the sun, as I have done, in the middle. And to do this, you're going to use the shading technique. Now, in that middle section, you want lots of white, so you're going to have to keep putting more white on top. And I'm going to make it quite big because we're going to layer some other colours on top. So I'm using the side of my pastel and I'm dragging it around the paper to fill quite a large section of the paper. Make sure there's a good thick layer of white on the paper in all areas. Okay, there we are. Then I'm going to take my light blue pastel and I'm going to layer that over the top of the white. So can you see I'm blending, layering, blending the white and the light blue together. So that's the first thing I will do, and you can see that I'm using the blue like a pencil now. I'm not holding it on the side. And then I'm going to create an outer ring of blue, light blue. So one of the blues is blended and one of them is without blending. One part of the blue is without blending. Okay, so there we go. And you don't want, if you can help it, you don't want any white, any gaps showing through onto the paper. Okay, There we go. I'm going to try and make my moon as round as I can. Okay, there we go. All right, so now we're going to layer another blue. Now, if you have a dark blue as well as a light blue, then use the dark blue now. So I've got one, so I'm going to layer a little bit onto the light blue, all the way around, colouring onto the light blue, sorry. And then I'm going to add a ring of dark blue around. Quite a nice thick ring of dark blue. Now remember, you don't want to leave any gaps in your colouring. You want it to be nice and thick on the paper. Okay, right around the circle. Now, if you don't have a dark blue, what you can do is you can just use a white and use white to go around that blue. Make your light blue circle bigger and use the white to go around it, okay? Okay, so then I'm going to move on to adding purple. So again, I'm going to layer onto the dark blue first, all the way around the edge, right around. And then once I've gone right round on the blue, I'm going to create a separate layer of purple around the outside. And it can be, again, a nice thick ring of purple. Now what you don't want to do is you don't want to go over the white line at the bottom, because we're going to cut this line here, because we're going to come back to that later. So go right around the circle for your purple. And then the last ring that you're going to do is going to be black. So I'm going to take my black, I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm going to cover some of the purple with the black, layer those two colours together, not too much, and then you're going to create a ring of black around that. Okay, and in fact what I'm going to ask you to do, year 2, is I'm going to ask you to colour the rest of the background in black. So all of this area is going to be covered in black, okay, right up until the very edges. So I'm going to leave you to complete that now. Now you may find that once you've done that, you want to add a little bit more purple around the edges to make it stand out more. It's up to you. You can add colours as you go, but if you can fill up the rest of the space with black now.